And welcome back to the John Fredericks Show. I'm your guest host, Senator Bryce Reeves, along with Mark Nease Savage and Kira on the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, on the line today is one of my heroes. He's a Navy Academy grad. He's an assistant coach at Navy at some time, and he runs a heck of a lacrosse program that's challenging the number one team in the country. We came close, Coach, the other day up at the tournament. But, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Carl Nease. Coach, good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great, Senator Reeves. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, we just heard today that the SEC and some of the other leagues are going to play, and then we hear some of the other ones aren't for NCAA. And I know your focus is on growing men of character based on your background and your naval background in the game of lacrosse, of which I coached a team up in Fredericksburg, did coach. And how do we proceed? I mean, you know, I know that you are itching to get back on the field. You guys have done it safely, but how do we, under the high school leagues and stuff, a lot of questions for you today. How do we do it safely? How did you guys do it safely? And then I want to talk about, you know, now that they've extended these seniors in college, what happens to the classes like my son who's 2022 and 2021s, and where do we go from there?
Well, probably starting out with, the classes of 21, 22, trying to figure out the recruiting landscape. I take that first. With the pushback of the recruiting because of the fact that, all 4 years in college currently can get an extra year now. That has probably knocked down 25% of the openings for the 21 and the 22 and the 23 and all the way to the 24 class.
Right.
So there's fewer spots. The answer some players are taking is to reclass if they haven't done so already. And all that does is make the class below them bigger.
Right.
And they still have fewer spots. So, but they get that extra year to develop and mature, which might help them. It's a tough one to answer, but you look at these teams that college teams were looking to probably recruit 8 guys in a class. Maybe they already had 6 before the COVID thing hit, and they just cut off the recruiting. They're done with 6. So there's 2 guys that could have gone and played somewhere that aren't going to be playing because they're going to fill it with current college players.
Right. Well, they're going with the horses they already have on their team, right, rather than a freshman that probably they got to put a lot of work into. Makes sense.
Well,
it's just tough.
That's exactly right. They have a known entity that's already played in college, and so they can go with them. As far as getting out there and doing things the right way for the kids, you're right. We try to build more than just lacrosse players in our program, and I think pretty much every travel program follows the same suit. And when this thing hit and, everybody's stumbling around doing nothing, the kids, they started getting a little sedentary, right?
Right.
And they stopped working out. At the beginning, they were working out extra because they had all that time on their hands. And, kids are kids. And over time, they stopped doing that. We got them out there pretty early. We monitored the separation. Each time a team would take the field, we'd line out cones where they would put their bag in their water, so they were, probably about more than 10 feet apart. And then we did small-sided drills, getting their sticks going, and then we run them a lot. Right. We got them back into shape.
Well, Coach, I just got to tell you, as a parent of one of your players, that I was concerned about COVID, and I know you left it totally voluntary for the folks to come out, but the way you set up that system without any guidance, I kind of attribute that to your military background of taking an issue and a problem and just leading and solving and trying to work within those guidelines. And then, nobody's fault or anything else. You had a player that actually tested positive, and the way you guys responded to that was amazing, of being able to isolate and not let it affect the rest of the program. And I think that's a real credit to your leadership and Coach Taylor and the rest of the organization of how they've done it. What do you see? Schools are going to start going back. How do you think high schools are going to? You think they're going to still have athletic programs, or are they all going to? Football's going to go to the spring. I've heard in some places. What have you been told?
Well, in our area, everything looks like it's going to be pushed back to a December start. The fall group will go December until maybe the end of February, and then they'll hit the winter guys, and then they'll hit the spring. So the lacrosse guys that missed their whole season last year will have a shortened season that will probably go all the way through June.
Wow.
And I guess, all bets are off, right? That may occur. Who knows? Maybe this thing tails away and they can get going earlier. Maybe they have to go later. But I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of sports played in the schools around here in the fall. And I think there are a lot of clubs out there, not just lacrosse, but basketball, sure. AAU, the football programs.
7-on-7, yeah.
Yep, and they have a void to fill. These young men just can't go, and ladies on the same side, they just can't go another 6 months without playing sports. I think there's just too much value in athletics that the young kids need an outlet. They need their health, and to go 6 months without it is really bad. So you get these travel programs and all the different sports and clubs. They've got a big onus to kind of get out there and help these young guys and girls out, get them back on the field, get them in shape, and help them learn some life lessons.
Well, we've had 3 tournaments this summer in various states, and they've, as far as I know, have turned out fantastic, and parents understand the kind of complications that go with wearing a mask, and the players, I think, are aware of that as well and try to do precautions. But talk to me a little bit about where you see your Richmond Hawks going. Like what's moving forward with your team. Tell us how people can get in contact that maybe have never played lacrosse. What's the best way for them to try to get into the sport, and kind of what's the future?
Well, we just finished up tryouts, and just last night our last tryout was with our 2023 class.
You didn't get rained out, huh?
We didn't. We got it right in between. It was perfect. Now, the
Good.
field was sloppy, but it was kind of fun for the kids because, they don't get to play in the mud very often.
Right.
And I think they had a good time out there. But we had about 58 kids on the field, and they were all very good. It was a high-paced, fast-paced tryout. And, it's going to be tough, but I think we'll have 2 teams at that group. And that's just one example. I mean, we've got... right now, we're looking at possibly 14 teams coming up here. We have some interest from some Virginia Beach groups joining our program. And, we're doing our best to just make a program that we don't care what school you go to. Right. We don't care where you're from. If you're an athlete and you're interested in becoming a lacrosse player, we can help you. And that's our goal in our little part of the world that we operate in.
Well, Coach, you and I have talked at length about the game itself, but you're right, it's a metaphor for life, right? Getting the philosophy in the game of lacrosse or soccer or any sport for that nature. I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for coming on the program today. Anything you'd like to say, follow up, or any words to the folks that are listening? Now's your shot before we go to a break.
Hey. Be safe. Have a good time out there, and everybody keep working out and staying in shape.
Yeah, well, that's the big kicker, right? They were sucking gas when they were coming back. I know my son was like, "Oh my gosh, they're killing us," and I'm like, "Well, if you pass out, they'll take care of you. Trust me." So, anyway, Coach, thank you so much. Good luck with what's going on and tryouts in the future, and we'll see you on the lacrosse field.